we're here on our final. We're conducting this through the Zoom program based on a finding of cause and good cause and by consent and agreement of the parties.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Shannon Klotz.
Joel Jackson on behalf of the father, Eric Cotton, present and ready.
Todd Henderson on behalf of the children, present and ready.
Okay. All right, you can call your first witness.
We call Millie Evans. And how are you employed?
I'm an investigator for the Department of Family and Protective Services.
And are you familiar with the case involving James and Caleb?
Yes, sir.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the investigator assigned.
How did the department become involved in this case or with these children?
I received a report while on call that Caleb had been born to Shannon and that she was positive for methamphetamines.
And when you say she, you mean the mother?
Yes, sir.
And did you go to the hospital and make contact with the mother and the child?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to interview the mother?
Yes.
Okay. Did you discuss the positive drug screens?
Yes.
And did Ms. Klotz admit anything, or did she state what had happened?
She stated that there was residue of methamphetamine in a vape she was using and insisted that it was incidental, not intentional.
Okay. Did the mother ever admit to past being a drug user?
Yes.
Okay. And what drugs were those?
Marijuana and methamphetamine.
Okay. And is she claimed that this was, she'd used a vape? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
And it was a vape that she previously smoked meth from?
That's what she told me. Yes.
So mother was claiming it was a improperly cleaned vape that she had prior smoked meth out of and had used it again.
Correct.
Okay. Was the child drug screened?
Yes, he was. Caleb was drug screened.
Okay. Was it a UA drug screen at the time of birth and a meconium at a later date?
Yes.
Did the urine come back? The UA, was it negative when it came back?
Yes.
Okay. But the meconium, what was it when it came back?
It was positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine.
Okay. Did the mother state when the last time she had smoked from the vape?
It was just not long prior to her giving birth, as far as I can tell.
Okay. At any point during your investigation with the mother, did she take any responsibility for the positive drug screen, or did she stick to the story that it was incidental or accidental?
She maintained the story that she had initially told me.
The mother did admit to past history of drug abuse.
Yes.
While you were at the hospital, did you observe the child?
Yes.
How was he doing?
Initially had some issues with blood sugar control and was kept in the hospital for a few additional days, but otherwise appeared healthy.
So you had some possible blood sugar, or had blood sugar issues that they had to correct, and his meconium came back positive.
Yes, sir.
During your visitations with the mother, did she tell you who the father was?
Yes.
And what was his name?
Eric Houghton.
Do you know where Mr. Houghton was at that time?
Not initially. I did not.
Okay. Did you find out later where he was?
Yes, he was incarcerated at the time.
Okay. Do you know what he was incarcerated for at the time?
I made an objection to relevance.
All right, and then Mr. Trout, did you respond? I'm sorry.
I didn't. I was speaking to him. It all kind of came together. I had a delay there, Your Honor. Yeah. Relevance would be that it, father was incarcerated at the time of the child being born. He's the alleged father of it, and it's a drug case. I just seeing if she knew why he was incarcerated, if it involved a drug issue or not.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection. Ms. Evans, you can answer.
I believe it was for evading arrest.
You find out later that there was a second child.
Yes.
Okay. And where was that child during this part of the investigation?
While Miss Klotz was in the hospital, he was staying with a friend.
Okay. And did y'all look into the friend? Did y'all check her out? Was there a safety plan put into place as far as this child? What was y'all's next steps in this case?
I determined that the person that the child was with was not an appropriate caregiver due to concerns of drug abuse.
Okay. What was the next step then?
The child was taken to stay with another friend until Miss Klotz was released.
And was that friend to help in a safety supervise during a safety plan? Is that what the idea was?
Yes.
Okay. And why did that change?
I don't understand the question. Why did it change to him or from him?
From him. Was that during that time, I'll rephrase, during the time of the child staying with him, is that when the meconium results came back on the other child?
Yes.
Okay. And so due to the mother testing positive and the newborn baby testing positive, both children were removed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For concerns of ongoing drug use?
Yes. There are also concerns of the status of the apartment she was living in.
Okay. And we were coming to that. So did you visit the home that she was living in?
Yes, sir.
And what condition was that home in at the time?
It was pretty rough. The front door had a portion missing at the bottom, which basically left it open to the outside elements. There were also some plumbing issues and missing appliances and insects.
Okay. Did y'all give Ms. Klotz time to get that worked out?
We attempted to, yes.
Okay. And how did that go?
She was unable to get any of those changes made.
Did she get the apartment cleaned at least? Or?
She did make improvements to the cleanliness of the apartment, yes.
Okay. But it still had too many defects for a safety newborn coming home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how old was the other child? Do you remember?
I believe he was about 18 months.
So decided to remove due to possible ongoing drug use, the condition of the apartment not suitable for children that young. And you believe that was in the best interest of the children at the time?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
When you went into the home, did the home have running water?
Yes.
Did it have electricity?
Yes.
And the door that you said wouldn't stay shut, could she have put something in front of it to keep it closed to protect the house from the elements?
It's not that it wouldn't stay shut. It's that it was open to the elements from the bottom.
So there was
She
like a
did
gap.
attempt. She did, yeah. There was like a 3 to 4 inch gap at the bottom of the door where it was broken. She did attempt to cover it with something to keep the elements out, but it wasn't, there were still insects and stuff able to get inside.
And when you made contact with Ms. Klotz at the hospital and told her the situation, did she seem upset?
Somewhat.
Did you get the impression that she was bonded with the older child through your discussions?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Your next witness.
Y'all shake hands.
All right, Ms. Cairns.
And Ms. Cairns, how are you employed?
Through St. Francis.
And are you familiar with the case we're discussing today involving James?
I am.
And how are you familiar with the case?
I'm the caseworker.
Okay. And have you been the caseworker the whole time?
Yes, sir.
Now, when was your first meetings with the parents?
I met with Shannon shortly after she got out of the hospital
Okay.
at her apartment. And Eric, I didn't meet until February. Well, I haven't even met him in person yet, but
Okay.
we talked. Yeah.
So when you say February, you mean February of
Of this year, I
of
apologize.
this year, 23? Okay. And why was that? Why had you not met with him yet? What was going on?
He was incarcerated and then he was at a halfway house until February 12th, I believe.
Okay. All right. So did you ever make any attempts to get in touch with him at the house and while he was incarcerated?
Yes, I had sent paperwork, but everything kept coming back.
Okay. What about when he was released and at the halfway house? Were you ever able to attempt contact there?
I called and would leave messages. He would call whenever he could. He had a strict phone schedule that they were on.
Okay, all right. Now, what is y'all's first step when you get involved in a case after you meet with the parents?
We go over a family plan and get things in order on what they need to do to get their children back.
Okay. And did you generate family plans in this case?
I did.
Okay. And you generated one for the mother and one for the father?
Yes,
Okay. Were you able to review the exhibits I sent?
I did.
Exhibit number 1, can you tell me, did you review that?
Yes, that's Shannon's family plan.
And was that a accurate copy of the family plan that you had generated for her?
Yes, sir.
Did you appear any changes were made?
No.
Okay. Judge, I'd like to, or could you tell me what a family plan is first?
Sorry.
Could you tell me what a family plan is?
Oh, the family plan looks at what the parents are having issues with or why the children were removed, and we help them to get the things done so they can get their children back.
Okay. Judge, I'd like to admit exhibits number 1 and number 2 as the family plans of service that were filed with the court and made a court order.
Okay, petitioners exhibits 1 and 2 will be admitted.
Ms. Cairns, with the family plans of service, you said that they are designed to give the parents services to work in order to reunite with their children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll start with Ms. Klotz on exhibit number 1.
Okay.
What types of services was she required to do?
She had parenting classes, substance abuse, counseling, a psychosocial, drug screens, residence, employment. And that was it on hers.
Okay. Did Ms. Klotz work the services during this case?
From the classes she did, the drug screens, residence, and employment were not.
Okay. And when you say, for instance, residence, what do you mean by that? She has to notify you of where she's living or has to maintain a house? Which one?
Maintain.
Okay.
We'd like for 6 months, but
Okay. And during that time, does she need to notify the department or St. Francis if she moves?
yes, sir.
I just have my phone.
Has she moved during this case?
Yes,
My
she
phone out there.
And we're getting to you there. Mr. Trouton? Are you and Ms. Klotz in close proximity? Are y'all in the same apartment or house or?
Yeah, we are nearby. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're gonna have to either get separated or you're both gonna have to stay muted until you have to speak, okay?
Yes,
Because it
ma'am.
causes feedback. Okay, so I'll just mute you. That's okay. I can do it. Okay, all right, let's try that again. I'm not sure what Ms. Taylor was able to get.
You need me to back up, Ms. Toad?
The last thing I had was, has she moved during this case? And she said, yes, she has.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gaines, when she moved, did she notify you of her moves?
Not as soon as she moved, no.
Okay. For instance, right now, do you know where Ms. Klotz is living?
No, and I didn't know they were living together.
Okay. So you mentioned also that the drug screens, did Ms. Klotz ever drug screen for you?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to look at exhibit number 3 that I sent?
Yes, sir.
And what was exhibit number 3?
Her drug screens.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to admit exhibit number 3 is the affidavit of business records with the drug screens attached for Ms. Klotz that were filed at least 2 weeks prior.
All right, petitioner's exhibit 3 will be admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Cairns, during this course of this case, did Ms. Klotz ever test positive
Yes, she did.
for what substances?
Methamphetamine.
During this case, did Ms. Klotz ever not show up for drug screens or refuse to go for the drug screens?
Yes, sir.
Do you know, and approximately how many times?
15 times she was positive or she didn't go, so it was presumed positive.
Okay. Now, she was ordered in February to go screen, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
By the court?
Yes.
Did she go at that screening?
No, she did not.
Did she go, you did get her to screen later, a few weeks later, is that correct?
I did. Yes.
Okay. And was she positive on a hair follicle in March?
Yes, sir.
And do you know the date of when that sample was actually taken?
March 8th.
Thank you. Since that screen, have you asked Ms. Potts to go screen?
I sent an email to her and her attorney since I didn't have a phone number for her.
Okay. So has Ms. Klotz been keeping in touch with you?
No.
Okay, so when you say you don't have a phone number, has her phone number changed recently or?
It just rings the numbers I do have.
Okay.
But that's all I have.
So no voicemail comes up?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you get a response to the email?
I did not.
Okay. But you did send notice to her and notify her attorney if she could get in touch with her to have her screen.
Yes, sir.
When was that?
On April 4th.
Did Ms. Klotz go?
No, she did not.
What other service did you say employment? Is Ms. Klotz working that you know of?
I do not know.
Has she worked throughout the case?
She's had jobs off and on.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head what the longest one job she held during the case?
I honestly do not know.
Okay. Do you know how many different jobs?
I can think of 5. I'd have to go and look. The last one I heard of was Accent Healthcare or Home Healthcare.
Okay, but you're unaware if she's working there or not?
Yes.
Did she ever turn over pay stubs for you?
At the beginning, she gave me receipts, and then I did receive. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I did receive 1 or 2 pay stubs, I believe, from January.
This past January of 23?
Yes. Yes, sir.
But nothing since then?
No, sir.
Okay. Do y'all ask for pay stubs monthly or how often do you ask for them?
Yes.
Monthly.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time Ms. Klotz visited with the children? Do you know?
October,
Okay.
I think.
And was that due to visits being canceled?
Yes, sir.
What were they canceled for?
Lack of transportation. And she had a miscarriage in October. So the kids were brought to Amarillo.
Okay.
But after that, it was a transportation issue.
Okay. Did St. Francis offer transportation or was this a
During
situation?
the first 3 months we did.
Okay. Why only during the first 3 months?
I'm sorry.
Why only during the first 3 months?
Because we feel it's a parent's responsibility to be able to transport, like if the kids were in her care, how would she transport them?
All right. Now we'll move over to Mr. Howden. You said the first time that you were able to meet with him was in February?
That's when I talked with him over the phone. Mhm.
You have never actually been able to meet with him, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
Haven't.
Have you tried to meet with him face to face?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time you tried to meet with him face to face?
I was in Lubbock in February and in March.
Okay.
And I tried to reach out to both of them.
And were you able to get in touch with either one?
I was not.
Okay. When you talked to Mr. Howden over the phone, were you able to go over the family plan with him?
I was.
When he was incarcerated, did you send him a copy of the family plan? Did we get him a copy at that point?
I sent it to him and I sent it to him at his halfway house as well.
So you sent 2 copies of it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What type of services was Mr. Howden supposed to do?
He had counseling, parenting classes, a psychosocial, an OSAR, and then the residents, transportation, and drug screens.
Okay. Are there any services that he did not complete?
We didn't get the OSAR, and then drug screens from when he was in the halfway house, I was unable to get.
Okay.
And then I don't know where he lives, and I don't know if he has transportation.
Okay. He is working right now. Is that your understanding?
I believe so.
Have you gotten any pay stubs on that?
No, sir.
Any proof on it?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, his drug screens, in the same February hearing, the court ordered both parents to go drug screen. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And during that hearing, do you remember, did Mr. Houghton acknowledge that he would go drug screen that day?
He did acknowledge, and he went but refused to sign and refused the UA as well.
Okay. And when you say refuse to sign, what do you mean?
For the hair follicle.
Is that in order to take it, or is that after it's taken? How does that work?
That was after they got the hair, and he just didn't sign for it to be sent off.
Okay. And then you said refuse to UA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you send him out another time after that?
I did.
When was that?
On the 8th of March.
Okay. And did he go screen then?
He refused the hair follicle, but did the unmonitored UA.
And then sent him again on a couple days later?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he
Finally did. Yes, he did.
And did he hair follicle?
Yes.
Did you see what I sent out, exhibit number 4?
Yes, sir.
And did you look at that exhibit?
I did.
Can you tell what that exhibit is? Not details of it, just what it is.
Yes, his drug screens.
And are those accurate copies of the drug screens that you have seen?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd like to admit exhibit number 4, which is also the affidavit of business records for the drug screens that was filed at least 2 weeks prior.
Petitioner's exhibit 4 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Cairns, on March 10th, when you sent him, what was the results of those drug screens?
His UA was negative, but his hair follicle was positive.
Okay. And did you discuss, were you ever able to get in touch with Mr. Houghton to discuss this?
I texted him, but there was a response that I guess his watch picked up, like a talk to text.
Okay.
So he was upset with me, thinking that I had the people at the drug testing facility out for him, basically.
Okay. But it came back positive for
It
him.
did. Yes, sir.
Do you know where Mr. Houghton lives right now?
I do not.
Do you know who he lives with?
No.
Is he supposed to notify you of any moves?
Yes, sir.
He was living in Lubbock. What type of housing facility was he living in Lubbock?
I believe he got an apartment, but even then I didn't know where he lived since I didn't get to meet up with him.
Okay.
Okay, everybody hang on. Mom dropped out.
So when do you know when Mr. Houghton moved down to Lubbock?
After he got out of the treatment facility, the halfway house.
Okay. And the halfway house, was it here in Amarillo?
No, that was in White Settlement, Texas.
Okay. So he moved from there straight to Lubbock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were never able to see a place there?
I was not.
Okay. Attempted to get in touch with him in order to?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you spoke to Mr. Houghton?
Right after mediation.
So a few weeks back.
Yes.
Have you been able to maintain regular contact with Ms. Klotz or Mr. Houghton?
No, sir.
Is part of their services to maintain contact?
Yes, sir.
And I don't think I asked this earlier, so just back up. These service plans, they were made in order of the court, correct?
Yes, sir.
How are the children doing at this time?
They're doing great.
What type, are they how long have they been in the placement that they're in?
Since the beginning of the case, so
Okay.
18 months.
Okay. Is placement, to your knowledge, are they adoption motivated?
Yes, they are.
Are they licensed that you know of?
Yes, they are.
How are the children doing?
They're healthy, happy, doing well.
They making all their appointments?
Yes, they are.
And they are now what, close to 3, I guess, and around 1?
Yes,
On target for things?
they are.
Is the department today, are we asking for termination of the parental rights of Shannon Klotz's 2 James and due to failure to work services?
Yes, sir.
And are we asking for termination of Eric Houghton's rights? for the same thing, failure to work services.
Yes, sir.
Is there still a concern of possible ongoing drug use due to positive drug screens?
Yes, sir.
The department run paternity registry searches?
I'm not sure on that one. I apologize.
Your Honor, I would just like to ask the court to take judicial notice of the paternity registry search for both children that was filed 12/21 of 21.
All right, I'll take judicial notice of the paternity registry search.
Thank you. Ms. Cairns, do you believe that at this time, due to the children's placement, their well-being, the way that they are growing and doing well, do you believe it's in the best interest of both children to terminate the parental rights of both parents?
Yes, sir.
And that is what the department's asking for today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Cairns, when you first met my client Shannon, did you visit her in her house?
I did.
And did you see some improvements over time made to the house?
Maybe in the cleanliness of it, but she was still missing appliances in the door. It took a while to get fixed.
But the door did get fixed?
I believe the last month she was there.
And when you met her, where was she working?
I honestly cannot remember.
Okay. But she did get employment after the case started.
I believe she was working like side jobs. I remember her saying that she was painting and doing stuff like that. And there were receipts from a person, like the written receipts.
Okay. So did she provide those receipts to you?
I think I had 3 of them.
And did you say she completed her domestic violence classes?
Yes, I believe so. On that one.
Okay. And did she complete her parenting classes?
She did.
And did the OSAR, do you remember what the OSAR wanted her to do?
They wanted her to take substance abuse classes.
And did she enroll in those?
Yes.
And do you know if she went to individual counseling as well?
She did.
Okay. And when you said she missed, I believe you said 15 drug screens, did she provide a reason why?
Not to all of them. Some of them were transportation. She didn't make it. I give them 48 hours almost.
Was her problem her vehicle needed repair?
She didn't have a vehicle about half the case, I think.
And when she relapsed, was there a certain stressor that led to that?
Yes, she had a miscarriage.
Did she get right back on track after the miscarriage and after that relapse?
No, she did not.
And did she attended the visits except for the vehicle problem?
Yes, but again, she didn't have a vehicle a lot of the time.
And the children were how many hours away?
2.
So it wasn't from lack of her wanting to see them. Would you say that's true?
Yes.
Would you say it's true she did make some progress in the case?
Yes, up until about October.
And did she maintain contact with you until it was clear that the department was going to seek termination?
No, she didn't.
You didn't talk to her regularly?
We had a couple months where she would be in and out.
How would you characterize your relationship with her?
Well,
As a case-
I was there when she needed to talk to me up until about, she had her relapse. And then she kind of was upset with how things were going.
Would you say that the main problem in this case for her was transportation?
No, I think it was drug use and the lack of employment.
Do you think things would have been easier though if the kids had been placed in the same city?
With her seeing them, yes, but drug screens, no.
Did she move to get closer to the kids?
She did.
And did you know her location when she moved?
She wouldn't tell me where it was. She said she was living with somebody that she couldn't tell me where she was living. I met with her outside of an apartment in January, I believe. But that's not where she was living.
She didn't give you the address of a shelter where she was staying?
That was in November, December, but it was a, I can't remember what it was called. It was like a in between, but she was only there about a month as far as I know.
But she did tell you where she was at that time. You knew she was in some kind of shelter and you knew the name of it?
Mhm.
Okay.
I can't remember the name
Okay, I'll
now.
pass the witness.
Jackson?
Ma'am, to the best of your knowledge, could you testify as to when Mr. Houghton was released from his incarceration?
It would have been, he was at the halfway house for 90 days. He was released to the halfway house last year, but broke parole. And then he went back and was out again. So that would be what, November? Late November, I believe.
Okay, if the records that I have indicate that it would have been on or about December the 14th of 2022, would that sound accurate to you?
Yes.
And ma'am, as far as the services that you were asking to have worked, that he worked in his family plan, there were a number of services that he had completed while he was incarcerated, and we had filed those with the court. Were you provided copies of any of these certificates of completion?
I received the treatment center certificate this morning.
Okay. Are you aware that he had completed an effective parenting and a defective world class in August of 2016? Did you see that certificate of completion?
August 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
I did not see that one.
Okay. Were you aware that he completed an authentic manhood program while he was still incarcerated on October the 13th of 2022?
I did not.
Were you aware that he had completed a personal money management course while he was still incarcerated on December 7th of 2022?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you aware that he completed a cognitive intervention treatment program on December the 13th of 2022?
No, sir.
Were you aware that he had completed a Malachi Dads program while he was still incarcerated in September 28th of 2022?
No, sir.
And were you aware that he had completed an abode treatment phase 1 certificate of completion on February 12th of 2023?
That's the one I received.
Okay. And are you aware that he had completed his counseling with Stephen Jennings on March 23rd of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Your Honor, while we're on the subject, these certificates of completion have been filed with the court, and I would kindly ask the court to take judicial notice of those certificates.
Judge, I'm not sure that the certificates meet the criteria for judicial notice, so I would object.
And Mr. Henderson, what's your objection again was? I'm sorry.
Well, Judge, these aren't documents that contain information that would be widely known, that could be easily verified through some well-known sources. I don't think they meet the criteria for judicial notice to be taken.
Your Honor, these are certificates of completion that are done at the end of a program, just like any other certificate of completion that's filed in this court and other CPS cases, parenting or psychs or anything of that nature. It's not anything out of the unusual.
All right, I'm seeing, okay, let me make sure I'm seeing everything that's been filed. All right, I have
Yes.
the one evaluation treatment report, 6 counseling sessions through Stephen Jennings,
Yes, ma'am.
who is a service provider. And I assume is who we had providing services for Dad. Is that correct, Ms.
Yep.
Karen?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I will take judicial notice of that. because we know that he's a contracted service provider. All right, now let me look at the other one. All right, the other one that I see, Mr. Jackson, is certificate of completion, Adobe Treatment Inc. for Eric Houghton. I'll take judicial notice that of the fact that it's a certificate of completion of something. I mean, I don't think it gives us enough information to know what it, I mean, it just says completed treatment of Adobe Treatment Inc. Phase 1, residential 60. That doesn't tell me what what the course was, what it went into, and without further testimony about what was involved or whether it would even meet the criteria of his service plan. But I mean, I'll take judicial notice of the fact that he completed whatever this was.
Judge, just out of curiosity, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other certificates of completion that the court hadn't ruled on.
Okay, were they?
Just FYI, Judge, there were several certificates filed on February the 2nd.
Right, I'm seeing 4 or 5, 6.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, 6. All right, same thing. It isn't a service that is normally one of our contractor providers, but I will take judicial notice of the fact that he completed this course. Again, it doesn't tell me what the course was or what requirement of the service plan that it might have satisfied. So without some further testimony about that, but
Yes, ma'am.
it appears he completed it. Same thing with the authentic manhood program. It's the same issue, shows he completed it. And I understand this is stuff through TDCJ, but it just doesn't tell me enough about what it is. All right, the personal money management, now that kind of by its title gives me some idea of what it is. I don't have any problem taking judicial notice of the fact that he completed a personal money management course. All right, effective parenting in a defective world. Like that title. My same problem. I mean, it's obviously a parenting class. It talks about it being conducted weekly. I don't know how many weeks. I don't know how many hours a week. I mean, I'll take judicial notice that he apparently did complete it, but a little testimony about what it involved would probably be beneficial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Cognitive intervention. Same issue. I just don't have enough information based on its face, but I will take judicial notice that he did complete it. Dad's program, it's the same issue. I don't know enough about what it covered, but I will take note that he did complete. Is that the last one, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, I believe it was your testimony that Mr. Houghton didn't complete an OSAR assessment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what was the other service you're saying that he didn't complete?
Oh, the drug screens, and I didn't know where he lived and his employment. I know he works, but I don't know where or how long.
Okay. There wasn't in the family plan. There wasn't a requirement for him to do a psych. Isn't that correct?
He did a psychosocial. We didn't need a psychological though.
Okay. You said that you had never met him before, and did you attempt to try to set up a Zoom conference with him during the pendency of this case while he was out free?
No, because I go to Lubbock at least once or twice a month, and I was trying to meet him in person.
Okay, and you said that he wasn't drug testing, but but he did do some drug tests, though, correct?
He went on the 28th, but that was a refuse. I had sent him on the 23rd of February because that was the first time I could send him. He was going for his probation or parole, whichever you would like to call it, at the halfway house. I could not get those results. They would not give them to me.
But what I'm looking at, I think that you've been provided a copy of this. It's Exhibit 4. and it's got the drug screen results, and he submitted for a UA on March the 8th of 2023, and you got those test results, correct?
Yes, that was after I sent him 2 other times.
Okay, and he also had submitted for another UA on March the 10th, 2023, and you got those test results. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any particular reason why you're doing these UAs in such close proximity?
On that one, he asked me to send him somewhere else because he went for the judge on the 28th and he
Yes, ma'am.
refused the hair follicle and the monitored UA. So I sent him again to have the hair follicle because I told him I needed it.
Yes, ma'am.
He did an unmonitored UA and still refused the hair follicle. So I sent him again on the 10th because I was trying to get the hair follicle for court that the judge had asked for.
And he did submit for a hair follicle, correct?
Yes, on the 10th, the 3rd time.
Okay, and you've got that for the court today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as whether or not you knew where he lived, do you know whether or not he was able to maintain stable housing since his release?
At the halfway house, and then I believe he had a place in Lubbock.
Okay. And you knew that he was working, but you just didn't know where?
Yes.
Okay,
And I asked for
So-
pay stubs. I didn't receive those.
okay. Would it be a fair statement to say that he had maintained employment then since his release?
As far as I know.
Okay. While he was incarcerated, did he ever correspond with you?
I believe I got one maybe came through, but the others that I was sending kept coming back.
Okay. When you say you were you sending him to the unit that he was locked up in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you use the same return address that he provided to you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Cairns, do you believe the services in the plan were designed to address the reasons the children were removed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after both Eric and Shannon completed the services that they did complete, did you still have concerns about them being able to have their children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And specifically, was drug use one of those?
Yes, it was.
Were there other concerns?
Yes.
What were those?
I was worried that Shannon couldn't hold a job and didn't have the transportation for the kids. And there was at one point who she was living with as well. I mean, kids need routine and stability, especially that young.
And for Shannon specifically, when you factor in the positive drug screens and the no-shows, is it accurate that she never had more than 4 months of being clean as evidenced by the drug testing?
Yes, sir.
The 2 drug tests for Eric on February 3rd and February 28th. I missed what happened with those. I know that they were no-shows. Were they complete? He didn't go over there to do it, or did he go over there and there was some issue?
On February 28th, I sent him for the judge and he refused to sign for the hair follicle and refused the monitored UA.
The most recent UA was on him then was monitored or unmonitored?
Monitored.
Okay, so the 310 was monitored.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Were you, which I think you stated, you were not aware that it appears that they are back together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would that be something they would be required to inform you of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Cairns, do you feel that you appropriately assisted the parents in attempting to overcome these reasons their children were removed?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Ms. Cairns, as far as services, did mom or dad outside of the, let me clarify, outside of the services that you know that they work, did mom or dad provide you with any additional certificates?
No.
So the certificates that Mr. Jackson discussed earlier, you had no knowledge of those till he filed.
Yeah, I didn't know about those.
Okay, just real quick. The department is asking for termination of the parental rights to both parents as to the kid.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, the children.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And due to failure to work services and ongoing continued drug use.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Kearns, did my client do anything outside of the service plan to benefit herself? Like, did she take extra classes?
No, ma'am. Not that I know of.
The OSAR recommended inpatient treatment, correct? Or outpatient treatment?
Oh, yes. I don't believe she completed it, though.
Did she check herself in though for inpatient treatment, even though only outpatient was required?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ma'am, at the time of the removal of the kids, to your knowledge, was Mr. Houghton incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
So could you agree with me that that Mr. Houghton is a non-offending parent in this case?
That he's a non-offending?
Yes.
No.
He didn't have anything
Oh,
to
I'm
do.
sorry. I apologize. Not in this case, no.
Okay, all right,
I apologize.
that's fine. And did Mr. Houghton reach out to you to request the paperwork that was necessary for him to undergo an OSAR assessment when he was in Dallas?
I sent him to Jennings to do the counseling and everything, but I don't recall the OSAR, no.
Okay, all right. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Henderson,
I don't have any more questions for Ms. Cairns.
anything further?
I do need to bring up, Your Honor, earlier we had took judicial notice of the paternity registry search. That was as to Caleb. There's a paternity registry search that's filed separately on the same date of 12/21 of 21 for James. That is out of Oklahoma, that paternity registry search. So they're filed in two different places. I just want to clarify on that. So we have a Texas paternity registry search and a Oklahoma paternity registry search, one for each child.
Your Honor, I don't have an objection as to the Oklahoma paternity registry search, taking judicial notice of that. What I don't know is whether that registry requirement is a requirement in the state of Oklahoma. That's what I'm unsure of. That's the only caveat that I have.
All right, I see the one filed 12/21/21 on Caleb.
And right below that in Odyssey, Your Honor, it's listed as letter to Kim Minor from adoption. That's the Oklahoma paternity registry.
Okay. All right. So
Your Honor, to answer, I apologize. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
To answer Mr. Jackson's question on that, it's my understanding there is not a punitive paternity registry for Oklahoma, but for child support registry there is. So when we request them, it goes to this letter or this department.
Child was not less than a month old then at the time.
No, ma'am, child was I think about a year and 3 months at the time.
Okay, I'll take judicial notice of the response from the Department of Human Services that indicates that they have not received any notices of any acknowledgement, waiver, or anybody claiming or denying paternity.
Thank you, Your Honor. And one question for Ms. Cairns.
Sure.
Ms. Cairns, Ms. Archer just asked you if mom had checked herself into an inpatient. Did she complete that inpatient?
No, she did not.
Thanks. Nothing further.
Mr. Jackson, did Mr. Houghton ever request genetic testing in this case?
No, ma'am.
And does he deny or contest the paternity of either child?
Based on a conversation that I had with him before this trial, he's not denying paternity. And if I'm mistaken about that, Mr. Houghton, please correct me.
All right. I said, no, sir, that's correct. That's correct.
All right, so you believe you're the father of both children?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. All right. Mr. Trout, any further witnesses?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Department rest?
Department rest.
Okay, Ms. Archer?
I'd like to call the mother, Shannon Klotz. Ms. Klotz, you heard the testimony earlier about the house at the beginning of the case. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you fix up the house?
Yes.
You repaired the parts they were complaining about?
I got a whole new door.
Okay.
I didn't understand your answer.
I got a brand new door. Replaced the whole door.
And did you have appliances in the house?
The only appliance that I didn't have was an actual regular size stove, but I did have the stovetop burners.
So what were you lacking? The stove?
Yeah, like the big stove that's in a regular house, I guess.
Did you have a refrigerator?
Yes.
Did you have a microwave?
Yes.
And how long were you in that house from the beginning of the case?
From the beginning of the case, I'd been there over a year and like 4 months.
Okay, and then once the case started, how long were you in that house?
About 8 months.
Okay, why did you move?
Because I went to rehab and I wanted to get something better for the kids.
Okay, and what month was that in that you moved?
July.
Okay. And then you were in the new place for how long?
Until January.
July to January?
Yes.
Okay. And why did you move in January?
Because I wanted to be closer to the kids and staying where I was at wasn't going to work.
Was that when you moved to Lubbock?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was it hard to do the visits with them in Lubbock when you were in Amarillo?
Yes.
And why was that?
The financial situation, and then when I didn't have money to repair the vehicles.
Did the department offer to drive you to Lubbock?
Just in the beginning of the case. I know there was one point Shay had mentioned that she would text, she'd send out a group text to see if anybody was going, but that was it. Like any of the other caseworkers, so that I can go with them.
Why were you told your visits were taken away?
Because of the inconsistency of being able to make it to visits or not going to visits, or.
Did you go to visits every time you had an opportunity?
Yes.
And did you move to Lubbock in order to possibly make visits easier?
Yes, because I wouldn't have been able to make them.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your drug screens. When did you relapse?
Like the first week in November.
Is that the only time you used drugs in the duration of the case?
No.
When else did you relapse?
Before I went to, before I went to an inpatient. For sure.
Okay, that was the start of the case? That was near the beginning?
That was in July.
Okay. And why did you relapse?
Because I lost my son, and I guess like one of the things you taught us was don't rely on your self-willpower or whatever, and I was bottling up my loss, trying to be.
I'm having a lot of problems understanding her.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Klotz, if you just slow down a little bit. And I would like some clarification, Ms. Archer. We're talking about dates, months, but I'm not getting what year we're talking about. This case has been pending for a long time now, so.
Okay. Shannon, can you clarify the month you relapsed after the miscarriage?
November.
And what did you do after you relapsed?
November of
sorry.
what year?
Just last year, after I had lost my son.
2022, right?
I'm sorry?
And what did you do after you relapsed in November of 2022?
I started going to meetings again because I was not really leaving the house a lot, and then I did my relapse prevention plan over again. Like I rewrote it out.
Okay, may I clarify with her? Did you say that you rewrote your relapse plan?
Yes.
I couldn't hear. Okay.
Yes.
And what was the second thing you said?
Oh, more meetings. I started going to meetings again.
So you tried to take preventative measures so you wouldn't relapse again?
Yes.
Okay. I also want to talk a little bit about the jobs you've had throughout this case. In the beginning, when you lived in Amarillo, what job did you have?
I was doing like rental cleanouts and like painting and side work, like maintenance stuff, I guess you call it.
And how were you paid for those maintenance jobs?
Cash.
Okay. Is that why you didn't provide Ms. Karen's receipts?
Yeah, I mean,
Did you get receipts?
no, not really. I asked for the receipts when she started asking me to provide those.
And you did you keep that job until you moved to Lubbock?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then once you got in Lubbock, what job did you get?
The job through ocurrs for in-home health providing and the LCU job at the college.
Okay, so you were a care provider
Yes,
and you worked at the college.
yes,
And did you do that the duration of the time you were in Lubbock?
yes, ma'am.
Are you together with Eric Houghton? Are you in a relationship?
No,
Are you just friends then?
yeah. I was supposed to move and it didn't work out right away, so
Did you do classes on your own that weren't, oh, sorry.
On the virtual. Okay, Ms. Klotz, did you say I was supposed to move and it didn't work out right away, or?
yes, ma'am.
What does that have to do with your relationship with Mr. Houghton?
Oh, well, I left my job or whatever, and because I was supposed to move out of state, I didn't have anywhere to go, so he told me that I could stay with him until I moved.
Okay, so you're just with him today on a temporary basis.
Yes,
Did you take classes on your own that weren't required by the service plan?
yes.
Okay, can you tell me about those?
I did some extra online parenting stuff, and then I was working with the Padre program with Antonio Greaves.
And did you also check yourself into inpatient?
Yes.
Why did you leave inpatient early?
Well, the whole reason why I went to inpatient was because I wasn't really learning anything from outpatient, and then my outpatient counselor, she quit. So I wanted to get like some more support and some more information, and I didn't even have a care plan when I went in there. And then my inpatient counselor, she quit, so I was kind of in limbo.
So that was not your fault that you had to quit early?
Well, I mean, I could have stayed, but I wouldn't have. The whole reason of me going was that I could learn and like change my ways to be a better mom and prevent more relapses.
But your inpatient counselor quit?
Yes.
What do you feel like you did right in this case?
Okay, well, like right after, like, so I came back home on Sunday. I went in on Monday, right away to the pavilion to, complete the outpatient or whatever, and then get more knowledge and stuff. And I got a job at a house in under a month. Like, I didn't make very good choices as far as throughout the cases, and I get that, and it sucks. But
did you try to complete your service plan? Is she gone?
No, we have, she's.
yes, I did.
Oh, there you are. Did you try to complete your service plan?
Yes,
Do you feel like you made some progress?
I made a lot of progress. I think. I just think that, like with the miscarriage, I think it was early in my recovery, and like not, I don't know, that was a big mess up, but I think that I was doing pretty good up until that point.
Do you love your kids, Ms. Klotz?
Yes, I love my kids.
Do you feel like it would be in your boys' best interest if you could keep your rights and be their mother?
I do. I don't think that my rights should be completely terminated.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the judge before I pass you to the other attorneys?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Klotz, you talked about starting inpatient rehab. How many times did you start inpatient rehab?
Just once.
Just the once?
Mhm.
And you said that your counselor quit, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did they offer to provide you a new counselor?
No, I didn't, when I'm there, I didn't even have a treatment plan. Like, they didn't give me a plan or any
So
goals
you-
or anything.
So were you working with anybody within the inpatient care?
No, we had, our little groups, but there was no, like, no, not really.
Okay. Did you ever ask them if you were going to get a new counselor?
They said that she hadn't made it back from vacation yet, was all I was told.
That who had not made it back from vacation?
That, my inpatient counselor,
Did your inpatient counselor quit or did she go on vacation?
she went on vacation, but she never came back. She quit. Like, she ended up quitting.
Okay. But in the whole inpatient treatment center, they did not have another counselor or any other person to work with you.
They had like the class, like a teacher, but no, there was no individual or anything like that. And it wasn't, I mean, I don't know.
Do you believe it would have been in your best interest in this case to stay and finish rehab?
No, I do not think it was in my best interest. That's why I left.
Were you supposed to, for part of your services, complete an outpatient rehab?
Yes,
Is an inpatient a little more strict than an outpatient?
yes, outpatient, like inpatient, you move there for like 30 days, you live there for 30 days.
So if you would have stayed in that rehab, you don't think that would have benefited you?
If there would have been a counseling and I would have had a treatment plan and goals and like touch points that need to be touched as far as like my mental health or anything else, then it would have been beneficial, yes.
Okay. How long were you in the rehab before you left?
I was in there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So you only had 1 week left to finish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you state a while ago that you had left your job?
Yes.
When did you leave your job?
A little over a week ago.
Okay. And have you been staying with Mr. Houghton since then?
Yes,
So you've been at his place for a little over a week?
yes, sir.
Okay. Why did you quit your job?
I was under the impression I was either gonna lose my rights or I had to relinquish them, and I was just figured move somewhere where I had different opportunities to stay on track.
And I understand that, but my question is, why did you quit your job? You're still in Lubbock. You still could be working. Why did you quit your job?
I'm not in Lubbock,
Well, where are you living?
in Brownfield.
Okay. Have you notified Ms. Cairns that you moved?
No, I have not.
Are you aware that you're supposed to let them know when you change addresses?
Yeah, well, I figured if I'm gonna relinquish my rights, like that's right then and there, like that's it.
Okay. But we didn't relinquish rights,
No, I decided to take a trial instead.
but you still have not let Ms. Cairns know where you live.
No,
Did you let her see your prior address?
I'm sorry.
Where were you living before you moved in with Mr.
Oh, at the University Club Apartments.
Okay. Did you ever allow Ms. Cairns to visit that place?
I wouldn't have denied her if she had asked me.
Okay. Did she meet you outside of an apartment at one time?
Yes.
Okay. Was that those apartments?
No.
Okay. Had you notified her of your address at that time? Or were those?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, you know.
You quit your job and left Brownfield because you thought either your rights were going to be terminated or you were going to relinquish and you were going to move away to get a fresh start. Is that a fair statement of what you're telling me?
Well, I moved from Lubbock to Brownfield. Yes.
Okay, you moved from Lubbock to Brownfield or Brownfield to Lubbock?
Yes. Lubbock to Brownfield.
All right, where are you guys right now?
In Brownfield.
In Brownfield, okay. All right. So where was it you thought you were going to go?
I'm still going. Like if I lose my rights, I'm going to Maine.
To Maine.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Klotz, is it accurate that you haven't had contact with Ms. Cairns since the mediation?
That's correct.
Did you make any attempts to contact her?
No,
And I want to make sure I understood, because I kind of got confused as well about the drug testing. You tested positive early in the case, and then was your testimony was you didn't relapse until November of last year when you had the miscarriage?
yes, sir.
So in the meantime, you didn't go at least 5 times in the middle of 2022. Why not?
What specific dates?
January 6th, March 24th, March 28th, May 9th, June 9th. That's 5.
Okay, I know I had COVID for a small point. I had COVID, and there was a time that my phone got shut off, and I hadn't received the text that she had sent, and there was another time where I was employed and I couldn't get off work.
But in the middle of that, when you said you didn't relapse until November of 2022, you gave a positive hair follicle in April of 2022. So I'm wondering,
From July to November.
from July of 2022 to November 2022, you were clean.
Yes.
Okay, for that 4-month period.
Yeah.
So you would agree that for the rest of the time in this case, you haven't been clean for consecutive months, is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
You've not been clean for more than 2 months at a time?
Yes. No, I've been clean. Okay, repeat the question, please.
Would you agree that outside of that 4-month period from July to November of 2022, that you haven't been clean for 2 consecutive months?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Would you agree that there are no drug tests indicating that you've been clean for 2 consecutive months?
I mean, if it's on paper, it's on paper, like it's there, but
So the house you're at in Brownfield, is that your place or Mr. Houghton's place?
it's not my place.
Is it his place?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been staying out there?
About a week.
Okay. How long are you going to stay out there?
It depends on if I lose my rights, I will not be here. If I somehow manage be able to have them, I'm gonna continue working and then get my own place.
Why did you leave Lubbock before you were ready to move more permanently?
Because I was supposed to leave on a Greyhound to Maryland to Maine because I was gonna give up my rights. And it didn't happen right away, so I didn't have anywhere to go, and that's.
Okay. That's the witness.
Ms. Klotz, did the department ever offer to help drive you to your drug screens?
No, I was told, and I completely understand that it was solely my responsibility.
Was transportation the issue in getting to your drug screens, or was there something else going on?
There was something else going on.
Okay, why didn't you drug screen on the dates you missed?
Because, like I said, I had COVID, or I didn't get a text message, or I was working, and that's.
Okay, and
I have had dirty ways. Yes, I have had dirty ways.
did you
But
stop
don't-
keeping?
Sorry.
Did you stop keeping in touch with Ms. Cairns when you felt like she was for the termination of your parental rights?
I stopped communicating with her because it was my understanding that I didn't really have another choice, and I was either going to relinquish them or they were going to be taken. So,
And what is in Maine?
stability, like counseling, housing, school.
Did you find a specific program in Maine?
Oh, I don't know what the name of the program is, but it's like they help you with housing and stuff. And I know somebody there that has been trying to help me get that set up. I just
Okay.
haven't been there to.
So it's not a certain rehab program?
No, it's not a rehab program. It's like a housing program, and they help you with your mental health, any kind of drug counseling or anything you need in that, or school.
I can't hear her now. Can you say that again, Ms. Klotz?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I wondered if there was a specific program in Maine that you're looking to attend.
Oh yeah, okay. There's not a specific program. I just know that there's a housing program. Like I'll go stay at the shelter and I'll get a caseworker and they'll help me with the things that I need to get me back on my feet.
I'll pass the witness.
Ma'am, if your parental rights in this case today are not terminated and the department is named as a permanent managing conservator, is it still your intent to move to Maine?
No, sir.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer, any further witnesses?
I have no further witnesses.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, we call Eric Houghton. Mr. Houghton, this case, the petition in this case was filed, I believe, on November the 3rd of 2021. And so when were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated at that time and was released, I believe, approximately 30 days later, about December 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2021.
Okay. And when did you, and then you went back, did you not?
I did. I failed to reside at a specified place, and so I had to go back for a sanction to a ISF. They're called ISF, Intermediate Sanction Facility, for that technical violation. Yes, sir.
Okay. So at the time of Caleb's birth on October 23rd of 2021, you were not incarcerated at that time. Is that correct?
No, I was. Yes, sir, I was. I was in Brownwood and was incarcerated at that time. Yes, sir. I was released 30 days later.
Okay. And so as far as Caleb's acknowledgement, so just so that I'm clear, the paternity registry search for Caleb was completed December 1st of 2021. Were you still incarcerated then?
December 1st. Yes, sir. Absolutely, I was.
Okay. So would there have been a way for you to sign off on a paternity registry?
To be honest with you, sir, this is all new to me. I don't even know what a paternity registry is, but no, there would have been no opportunity for me to sign any document that would, I guess, acknowledge his paternity. I don't know.
Due to your incarceration?
Due to my incarceration, that is correct.
Okay. When James was born on August 17th of 2020, were you present at the hospital then?
I was, and I signed his birth certificate and acknowledged being a father. I remember specifically the conversation I had with the woman. I did sign documents that said I was the father. I acknowledged I was the father of James.
That was my next question. You did sign an acknowledgement of paternity at that time.
I signed whatever she had me sign, but I remember asking the legalities behind it, you know, as far as like, what is it that I'm signing? And she just said, as long as you're not, you know, you don't dispute that he's your kid and you're not going to, you know, that by signing this, you admit you're the father. And then I signed a birth certificate. It's like, I think it was a birth certificate that signed.
Okay. And so I know that the judge went over this with you, but there's not a doubt in your mind, is there, that either one of these kids are your biological children?
No, not a doubt, not a possibility in my mind. No, not at all. They're definitely my children.
Well, during Ms. Karen's testimony, you were present throughout all this today, correct? You heard the testimony?
Yes, sir.
And there was some testimony with regard to your maintaining contact with the department. So did you maintain contact with the department?
Absolutely. I feel I have, I did quite a bit right as I was released December 15th. I called her December 16th and I called her. I mean, I have a list written down of the dates and times that I called her, but I called her a couple times a week, I'd say, there for the first month or two.
Do you have those dates written down in front of you?
As a matter of fact, if you just give me 1 second, I will. Yes, sir.
Judge, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, there was mention that then he had to go back. Was that something prior to December of 2022 or after December of 2022?
It was prior, he was released earlier in 21, and then I think the parole violation, then he went back and was released thereafter.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that that was prior to December of 2022.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Howden, as far as the notes that you have for your recollection, as far as the contact that you'd made with Miss Cairns, what dates did you try to contact her? And by what means? Was it text or was it telephone?
Okay. I have 12:15 at 7 p.m. I left a voicemail, and that was by cell phone. But on 12:16, I called her 9:50 a.m. Let's see, and that was on a payphone, but it was at the abode treatment facility. It was I believe that was a payphone. It's either going to be a payphone or the abode treatment facility landline on the majority of these days. But 12:18, I left a voicemail stating need help with housing and daycare and had other questions. 12:19 at 4:20 p.m. left voicemail asking for email and update address. 12:19, 7:50 left another voicemail. 12:20, 22. These are all 22. Finally, let's see, a call received at facility from Shay. She left a message to have me call her. And then at 12:20, 22, 4:00 p.m. called Shay, spoke with her about housing. She said to email docs so she can send family plan, which more on that, I guess, in a minute. 12:21, 22, 4:00 p.m. called, no answer. Let's see. 12:22, 22, 9:55 a.m. call, no answer, voicemail. I verified an email sent with document certificates. Asked about visitation again, advised to please send family plan by mail. 12:22, 22, 10 a.m. no answer, left voicemail. 12:22, 22, 1 p.m. no answer, left voicemail. Just attempting to verify if she received that email sent by my counselor containing numerous certificates and information. 12:23, 22 was told she was going on vacation until January 3rd. So 12:28, 22, 11:30 a.m. I left a voicemail trying to confirm more and see about the consent to release the information of my UAs that I was taking there at the abode treatment facility. And then on 1/3/23, see, called no answer. And then, okay, so in between 1/3 and the next call that I have written down is 1/19/23. I'd gotten a cell phone there. I was working, and you're not allowed to have a cell phone at the halfway house, but I kept my cell phone at work, and I had some communication with her on that cell phone. And I've been trying to access those records, but I don't have them in front of me. So to continue with the list, on 1/19/23, I called Shay requesting Lubbock caseworkers. She said she was going to request me a caseworker and that I should have one within 2 weeks. But at this point, I'd already been there 30 days and I was requesting visits. And then on 1/24/23, I left a voicemail for Jennings appointment. Well, I guess a notifier that I set the virtual visitation for my Jennings appointments. And then 1/24 left voicemail about new employment and Jennings. This is 1/25, called Shay to let her know I scheduled another virtual visitation as well as Jennings office visit. She said she couldn't schedule Lubbock visits till I was in Lubbock. Mentioned Zoom visits, but not one scheduled as of yet. I guess that's all because I ended up getting another cell phone, and then the rest of those records are on that cell phone. But that's what I have as far as the ones that I can't prove because they weren't on the cell phone. There were calls from a payphone or that landline there at that facility. I just made little notes, so I had that, for record, I guess.
After you got a new cell phone, did you make her aware of your new cell phone number?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And it says in the report that was filed with the court, and this report was filed April the 3rd of 2023, it said that Ms. Shay Cairns has not been able to contact you for a few weeks. Is that an accurate statement?
No, sir, I don't believe it is, because if she tried to contact me, I would have the contact, text, a voicemail on my cell phone, or an email at the email address I know she knows to contact me on. I did. Go ahead.
Since you've been released from incarceration, how many cell phone numbers have you had?
Two. Well, three, because of that one that I had there just for the first 2 weeks, but I was like a prepaid cell phone. Go ahead.
Did you provide Ms. Cairns with each one of those phone numbers?
I did. Yes, sir.
All right, I want to move on to the issue of the drug testing. In the report that was filed again on April the 3rd, it indicates that on 2/23 that you refused a hair follicle and a monitored UA that the judge had ordered. Did you refuse that, sir?
I did not refuse it. No, I did not.
Was there a reason why that test wasn't taken?
Yes, there was. I mean, it was a miscommunication, or I don't know. He took the hair follicle, and I signed some things on that where he seals it and it's a sticker. And then on the UA, I couldn't pee yet, and so he said, "We'll go have some water out in the lobby, or if you got something to drink in your car, you can go out there and drink that or whatever." And I said, "Okay." I sat in the lobby and drank water for a little while, and I stepped outside to smoke a cigarette. And I was out there maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but when I came back in, he's just, he said, "Man, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to refuse you. You can't leave the premises, while waiting." And so I was kind of shocked, and then he didn't say nothing about signing for the hair. I just was like, "Really, you're gonna refuse my UA?" Okay. I left the facility, and was texting Shay about it. And so I didn't know that I refused to sign for hair. I guess they never submitted that hair sample either. I didn't know that at that time.
Okay, this one that I'm asking you about, Eric, that was on February the 23rd. On this report, it says on February the 28th that you refused. 5 days later, you refused a hair follicle and a monitored UA. Did you refuse that?
I'm gonna have to retract my last statement from the previous question, because I guess I'm mistaken that date. I think the first date you mentioned, she had sent me a text saying you need to go do hair and a UA tomorrow. And I was trying to find the place and didn't make it in there in time. I got there about 4:30 and they just told me, I was too late. And so I messaged her and was like, "Is there any way, can I go tomorrow or anything?" She was like, "No, that's a refusal. You have to go. When I tell you, you only have 24 hours. And I was like, "Well, I did not, honestly, I didn't fully understand that." So that was the first one. And then the date you're asking about right now.
28th.
Go ahead.
February 28th.
Yeah, that's the one where I went in, and when I stepped out for a cigarette, he refused me, and then I didn't sign for the hair because he didn't say nothing, and I left.
Okay. And then again, on March the 8th of 2023, it says that you refused a hair follicle. Did you refuse that?
No, I don't believe I did. Not a refusal. I wasn't ordered to do it. I had a conversation with the guy. I thought I was there to redo my UA, that I'd submitted hair already, that I was just there to do a UA. And when I was talking to the guy, he said he gave me the cup and they were going to let me go in the bathroom unmonitored. And I was like, "Well, man, if the other one was unmonitored, I wouldn't be here right now, because the reason I couldn't be, I have an extreme case of bladder sinus. But so
point being, on March the 8th, you showed up to do a drug test that you thought to be a UA, correct?
I thought it was just a UA, yes, sir.
And you weren't aware at the time it was supposed to be a hair follicle. So did you refuse the hair follicle, yes or no?
Yes, sir. I guess so, yes, sir.
Okay. And then it says that there was a negative unmonitored UA on the same day. Correct?
What's that? Yeah, that would be the UA I submitted that day, I guess. I didn't, like I said, I didn't give hair, but
okay.
I didn't. Yeah.
And then skipping to the last test on March the 10th. The test results indicated that you were positive on a hair follicle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. To my knowledge, yes, sir.
And have you seen those test results?
I don't believe I've seen a copy of the actual results. No, sir.
Okay. Could you testify, sir? When is the last time? How long have you been sober?
The last time that the only time pretty much I've used since I've been released would be approximately close to 3 months ago.
Okay. Could you explain after you're released from incarceration why you used?
Well, I mean, it was just it was a poor choice. I was hired on with a framing crew, and I knew they were using or that they were doing something, but they hadn't really put it in front of me or nothing. And we were on this one job, and things were just, it's kind of, yeah. I was feeling a lot of pressure because I was the bottom guy, on a construction crew, and they were getting high, and it's just a momentary lapse of judgment. I thought I could, maybe smoke a little bit of it and get away with it, just that old stinking thinking. And
so since then you haven't used, is that correct?
Correct. I've not used.
And if the judge were to order you to drug testing, then would it be your testimony that those hair follicle test results today or tomorrow would be lower than what they were on March 10th of 2023?
100%. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I want to move on to, you had provided us a number of several programs that you have been involved with, that you had certificates of completion. You completed an authentic manhood program on October 13th of 2022. What was that program about?
It's a biblically based program. It's about family dynamics and just biblically what it means to be a man, character attributes or just different values and things that you should hold close, and practice, and just kind of a way to live a better life. But it's definitely, that was part of a faith-based dorm program that I was involved in. It's 6 months long.
From your recollection, approximately how long did that program last?
I was about 5 months.
Okay. Also, you had completed an effective parenting in a defective world program back in August 30th of 2016. Do you recall what that program was about?
Oh yeah, again, that's just a biblically based class, and it's about how to raise godly children in today's society, just with everything that the way the TV and the video games and stuff are.
Okay. Do you recall how long that program lasts?
That one was 6 weeks, and it was I think you just attended it once a week for 6 weeks.
Okay. On December the 13th of 2022, you completed a cognitive intervention treatment program. What was that about?
That was ran by a company named MTC, Management Training Corporation, and they are involved in different programs in TDC. And sir.
What was the program?
It's about identifying thinking errors and changing the way you think. It's actually pretty powerful stuff.
How long did that program last?
That one is 45 to 60 days, and I did complete the full 60 days while I was there. So,
okay. You had completed a Malachi Dads program on September 28th of 2022. What was that program about?
That was another one that was attached to the faith-based dorm, but it's about reunifying families and again, from a biblical standpoint, kind of just like a parenting class, basically. But
okay. And how long did that program last?
That one was 6 weeks, once a week, and I completed it.
Okay. And then finally, on February 12th, 2023, you completed the Abode Treatment Phase 1 program. What was that program about?
That was about residential 60-day program that's about reintegrating inmates back into society, helping you with job and things like that. But you attended a minimum of 15 hours a week of group therapy sessions, cognitive therapy, alcohol and drug education, things of that nature. But again, it's kind of an in-between point, I think, that they use in parole and other programs to help,
And how long was that class? How long did that take?
60 days of inpatient. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that throughout these programs that you have completed, that you've made some progress with the education that you received from the programs?
Absolutely. Yeah. Life-changing for sure.
All right. Your Honor, based on this testimony on these programs that he just testified to, I'd ask the court to take judicial notice of those certificates of completion.
Let me just ask, Ms. Cairns, are you familiar with any of these programs and to the extent or sufficiency that you think they would have complied or met some of his service obligations?
I'm not.
Okay, I will take judicial notice of all of the certificates and of the testimony that Mr. Houghton has provided, of course, to support what they were about. So I'll take judicial notice of them.
And Your Honor, on the 2016 one, I would object to it. That was 5 years before this case even started. That he was.
I missed that. So
yeah, it's from August of 2016. I think it was a parenting class. It's 5 years before we ever got into this case.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the date on that. So yeah, Mr. Jackson, I think that's a little remote in time. So
Yes, ma'am.
I would accept that one, and I apologize. Which one was that, Mr. Trout? I'm trying to find it again.
That's the effective parenting and a defective world class.
Okay, all right. So I won't take judicial notice of that one other than what I did earlier today, just that it was something he completed, but okay.
Yes.
I think it's just too remote in time.
Yes, ma'am. May I proceed?
Yes.
Eric, one of the requirements that they have for you, that the department had is in terms of your family plan of service, is for you to maintain stable housing. So what did you do in that regard since the date of your release to maintain stable housing?
Well, of course, my first 60 days were there in Fort Worth at the Abode Treatment Facility. And from there, I chose to go to a place called Kingdom Towers in Lubbock to be closer to my children for visitation. And I chose that place because it just really stood out to me. It seemed like a supportive environment, and it supported my faith. And it was. Go ahead.
How long were you there?
I was there about 45 or 60. It was about 60 days. I paid 2 months rent, little shy of 60 days, something like that. Yeah.
And so why did you leave that facility?
Oh, I was getting my own place, working on getting my own place. I mean, ultimately that was the goal, but I did want some help transitioning, and I didn't, getting out of Fort Worth and then moving to Lubbock. I mean, I didn't know anybody there, or, didn't have any. So I thought it'd be a good, good place to use as a stepping stone or a transitional housing.
Okay. And so when you talk about getting your own place, is this the place that you're now at in Brownfield?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been there?
I mean, just now about, I would say 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, actually.
Okay. Did you notify Ms. Cairns of your new address?
Actually I didn't. I will say I did not do that. I should have done that, and I realize that now, and I did not. I went through a lot just trying to get parole to approve it and everything, but no, to answer your question, no, sir.
Let's talk another condition that the department's asking of you in the family plan is for you to maintain stable employment. Have you done that?
Yes, I have. I've worked a number of jobs, but I consistently, from the day I've gotten out, I've worked at least 5 days a week.
Were your jobs primarily in the construction field?
Yes, sir. They have been, and they normally are. Yes.
Okay. And during, since December of 2022, have you provided Ms. Cairns with some pay stubs?
I sent her some pic text images of deposit, they're called deposit, I don't know, deposit information slip or something from a staff zone. And then I think, yeah, I cannot confirm whether or not I did when I started working for the framing crew, but I know I did initially send her some, for employment verification.
Okay, and so you're currently employed, correct?
I am, because I work for my landlord, but I'm literally going to be starting like my second day of work tomorrow. So, I mean, I just kind of.
And so what do you anticipate your income to be, your monthly income?
Roughly anywhere from 18 to 2,200, maybe.
2,200 a month?
Yeah, on the high end, 2,200. Yes, sir.
Okay. Another condition under the family plan was for you to undergo an OSAR, OSAR exam, and that was not completed. Can you tell the court why you haven't completed that?
I've been, yes, sir, I can. I've been unable to get a referral or any other information. I mean, on the family plan that I have, it's in Amarillo, and I mentioned that in text or as well as a letter that I wrote to her, stating that I'm not going back to Amarillo. I'm going to Lubbock. I need a referral in Lubbock for all these services, and that's the only service that I wasn't able to locate and schedule an appointment or take care of it. And so, I mean,
do you recall how long ago it was that you made the request for referral to get an OSAR referral out of Lubbock?
Out of Lubbock, that would have been round about the mid-January is when I knew I was relocating to Lubbock, and that's when I told her, because I wasn't getting a caseworker there in Fort Worth, I told her just to get everything set up for me there in Lubbock.
And you never got a referral out of Lubbock?
No, I didn't. No, I did not. I didn't get anything out of Lubbock because I scheduled my the counseling sessions with the Jennings online, and I just stuck with that because I actually really enjoyed those sessions.
Okay. Now, your case here a while back was extended in order, I believe, in order for you to be able to work services. And have you been trying to work those services to the very best of your ability?
Yes, sir, I have. To the best of my knowledge, I mean, that OSAR service is the only one I've not completed. I mean,
okay. And as far as visits with the kids, have you been able to make visits with the kids?
Yeah, virtually, and it's been a challenge. And
is it a challenge because of the age of the kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you missed any scheduled virtual visits, sir?
I did miss one, and I had it set with my boss to, that I was going to be able to go to a place on the job site and have my visit. And we were in the truck. There's about 5 of us. We're coming back from the dump, and I guess his timing just wasn't right. I mean, traffic and whatnot. And so I messaged the woman that takes care of it and let her know, can I get 30 more minutes? Like, I'm in a car full of people. And she just said, let me ask Shay. And anyway, the moral of that story is not only was I refused that visit and didn't get to make it up, it was like, I don't know. I can't even remember. I felt like I suffered for that for sure.
But at any rate, you didn't just blow it off. I mean, you reached out to somebody to try to make that visit work, even though you knew you weren't going to be on time, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I did. Right about 15 minutes before the visit, I asked her if I can get a 30-minute, extension or time so I could get out of that truck.
Eric, in the report that I'm reading here that was filed with the court on April the 3rd, it says that you have missed the last 2 virtual visits. Are you aware of that? You said you missed 1.
No, I was not. What do you mean? You said what on April 3rd that I've missed 2 more virtual visits?
The report was filed on April the 3rd this year.
Okay.
It says Eric has missed the last 2 virtual visits.
I wasn't aware that I was still getting virtual visitation. I thought it was suspended due to the hair follicle.
Okay.
Was my-
Okay, so you weren't aware of that, correct?
That's correct. I was not aware of that. Yes.
You didn't intentionally miss the visit.
No.
As far as the visits are concerned, whenever you visit with the kids, how do those visits go, in your opinion?
It's hard to even put words to it because it's just, I think it's unfair to everybody, but they don't go too well. I mean, it's hard for them to focus on a screen with a guy that, I mean, just being honest, like, I don't think they even recognize me, man. And
So you're trying to establish a relationship with these kids virtually, aren't you?
it's the only option I've ever had. I've never got to visit them. But,
Okay. You love those kids?
huh?
You love those kids?
Yes, sir, I do.
And are you asking this court not to terminate your parental rights?
Yes, I am.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Young. Mr. Allen, you were, just to kind of recap, you were incarcerated when this case started.
Yes,
Then you got out and you were revoked and went back to jail, correct?
yes, that's
And
correct. I was not revoked. I will say I was not revoked. I had a technicality and I had to serve a sanction. I was not revoked.
You were out of jail and got sent back.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct.
And you went back to ISF, is that correct?
I went to an ISF. Yes, sir.
And then you got out, and when did you use again?
I used, I would say, let's see, it was probably it was around about, I mean, mid-January, towards the end of January. That's when I was working with the framing crew.
Okay.
Your Honor, I believe that's been asked and answered.
And it has, Your Honor, I believe he said it had been about 3 months prior. I just kind of wanted to know a date on that, exactly when it was. You completed the Adobe treatment in February, correct?
Correct. February 12th. Yes, sir.
And that was a 60-day program?
Yes, sir.
So during the middle of, after getting out of ISF, and in the middle of a treatment program, you used it.
Yeah, that is true. Yes, sir.
So do you think you actually completed that treatment? I mean, I know you got a certificate, but you used in the middle of it. So do you think you actually completed treatment?
I think I completed their program. I did. Yeah, I do.
Was part of their program not to use?
No, it's not. Actually, it's not a drug rehabilitation program. It's a transitional treatment program. And they actually really, other than a drug and alcohol education class, it's not centered around addiction at all.
But it teaches you drug and alcohol addiction.
That's one class that they offer, yeah. But the majority of it's cognitive and just things of like jobs and stuff like that, how, you know, inmates can reintegrate into society. And, you know,
do you think it's sponsored using?
Do I think what?
Do you think that program sponsored you using during their program?
They do not sponsor, but it was 250 inmates that commonly just got released from prison. They were trying to get back to their drug addiction. Like, it's not a good place to be if you're trying to stay sober. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Now Mr. Jackson discussed the drug screenings with you. I heard you say something in the middle of that if it had, the other one had been unmonitored, you would have taken it. So did you purposely avoid taking a monitored test?
No, to answer your question, the reason I said that is because if he wouldn't have monitored me, I would have been able to pee. But because I couldn't pee, he put me in the lobby, which I went outside and smoked a cigarette. So I mean, if I was unmonitored, I would have been able to pee a little. Like I go through this all the time. Like it takes me an hour.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustained.
So from February 23rd, February 28th, you had what is written in the report as refused hair follicle and monitored UA, both of which you didn't do. But then you did have a negative test once it was unmonitored.
The
So,
hair is monitored.
okay.
UA was clean and it was monitored.
Do you remember in the hearing on the 28th, judge discussing whether you could be at the facility to test by 4 o'clock that day?
Yeah, I do.
And your state, I believe your statement that day was, I would prefer it be tomorrow, but I can go today.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
And just a while ago, you testified that you just didn't get there in time. Is that
That
correct?
was not the date. You're referring to another date. The
I'm
date
referring
I
to
wanted to go, I went that day.
I'm referring to the one that the judge ordered you to.
Yes, I went within 24 hours to that one.
Okay. Now you said you didn't understand that you still had virtual visits. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I was told that. Yeah. That's
Had
correct.
you been in contact with Shay?
I've not spoken with her in probably 2 or 3 weeks or since, shortly after that mediation. But I mean, you'd have to understand what the mediation, what I got from the mediation was not.
Would you know that you still had virtual visits had you kept in touch with your worker like you're supposed to?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Do you believe it was important for you to keep in touch with your worker?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and I did. Go ahead.
Would you know about visitations had you kept in touch with your worker?
Again, objection calls for speculation.
Yeah, sure.
Judge, I believe if he kept in touch with his worker and asked her about visitations, he would know about them.
That's
I'm gonna-
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Okay.
Is it your opinion that keeping in touch with your worker is important to know what's going on in your case?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Now, you said that on your list of phone calls, that you'd made multiple calls and hadn't heard back from Shay back in the beginning. Was she allowed to call the place that you were?
Yes, she was.
What about payphones? Did she have numbers to call you back on payphones? Did you?
No. I let her know right when I got there that she could call up there and that what would happen is they would write down a message and get it to me and I would be able to call her back from a phone there.
Okay.
I use the payphone because I have unlimited access to it as long as I pay for it. Their phone, you have to, there's a time.
When Miss Cairns went on vacation, did she notify you of the worker that was covering for her?
No, she didn't. And I did call her in between while she was on vacation. I did call her number to see if it was going to forward to another number, and it didn't. It went to her voicemail.
Okay. So at no time before she went on vacation, she told you who was covering?
Not that I remember, not that I'm aware of. No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you believe that you completed your services?
I believe that I have completed them other than OSAR referral, the OSAR, whatever that thing was, I guess it's an assessment or a psychological assessment or something.
But you also did not stay clean during this case, did you?
No, I didn't. I do have one. I do have a use in this case. Yep. You're right about that, actually. Yeah.
So, I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Judge, I need, Mr. Hunt, I need to make sure I'm understanding because I think I heard 2 dates. You originally were released on parole December 26th of 2021, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So almost a year and a half ago, you were released on parole.
That is correct.
Okay. And then you were still out of prison. Well, when I read the report from April 2022, it indicates you were not in prison. So at that time, you were not in prison in April or ISF in April of 2022, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
And then the August report says you were in the Jasper unit. Was that where ISF was?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. When did you go there?
I believe I got there in maybe July or the beginning of August, or I think July. Or
okay.
Pretty sure July. Yeah.
ISF's 90 days. Is that right?
It is minimum 60 up to 180 days, and it kind of depends on several different factors. But me having to go to that transitional treatment facility, I, kind of got stuck in the, 150 to 180 day range.
So you got out when?
I was released December 14th of 2022.
Okay. All right. That was, I think, my confusion is there were 2 December release dates, one of 21 and one of 22. And so this case started in November. You got out in December. You were out for about 7 months. What were you doing during that 7-month period?
Well, I was working, maintaining my residence. I thought I was putting work and time into the apartment that was gonna maybe get the kids back, and obviously that wasn't the case. But
were you doing any services during that 7 months?
Well, at some point I spoke with Shay. I was, requesting visitation and whatnot. And
I'm not asking if you requested visitation. I'm asking if you did any services during that 7 months.
Oh yeah, I did actually. I completed the parenting classes.
Okay.
Yep.
When did you complete that last class that you completed during that 7 months?
Say it was around about April. Actually, I can't remember. It was like 6 weeks in a row or something. But yeah, I think it was April, or I'm not sure because I don't have the certificate, but I do know Shay does have a copy of that certificate.
You went to did the parenting class with who?
With who? I went to do the parenting class. Boy, what do you mean with who?
Who conducted this parenting class?
Oh, it was at a church. I can't remember, the name of that church. Pretty cool place, though. I don't know the name of it. Again, I don't have that information because when I was arrested, I lost it. But I made sure that Shay was able to access a copy of it from somebody.
Did you come to any court hearings during that 7 months?
Court hearings? No, I didn't.
Did you take any drug tests during that 7 months?
Yeah, I did. I took some. I didn't take many because once I had a warrant, I wasn't UAing no more. So, but I
did you take any drug tests for the department as opposed to parole?
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Again, I had a conversation.
That answers my question. That answers my question. Thank you, Mr. Houghton. There's been a lot of back and forth about those early drug tests that you refused, and maybe you say you didn't refuse, but you knew you had just used drugs. You knew you were going to test positive if you took those drug tests, right?
Absolutely not.
So you knew you had just used at the end of January, but you didn't think you would test positive in February?
If I would, it would have been the hair that I gave them. The UA is the thing in question. I gave them hair. I wasn't hiding my hair. I knew I knew I might have,
Well, except for the hair you refused on March 8th, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you got me.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Eric, as a condition of your parole, you're required from time to time to submit to UA. Is that correct?
Yeah, about once a week so far, but yes, sir.
Okay. And so on those UAs that you do for parole, are they monitored? In other words, is there somebody watching or not?
Yeah, they watch. Yeah, they are monitored. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so has that always been a problem for you to be able to urinate when somebody's watching?
Yes, sir. It always has been, and I don't understand it, but I can't shake it. Even off. I don't know. There's something about it, but I have to drink excessive amounts of water. At some point, finally able to submit. Yeah.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Henderson, do you have a recommendation today?
I do. I recommend that the parental rights of both the mother and father be terminated, that the department be named temporary managing conservator, and that placement continue. The children are very good placement right now, and recommend that continue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Henderson. Geographically, the children are placed in Lubbock now?
That's correct.
They're still in Lubbock. Yeah.
Yes.
And are they with foster family? Is there any relationship? Is there any?
It's just foster. The youngest has been there since birth.
Okay. Okay, y'all give me just a few minutes. Okay, Ms. Klotz and Mr. Houghton, most of these people that are in my court on a regular basis know that usually at the conclusion of hearings, I'm generally pretty ready to rule immediately. I have taken a step backward and given your all's situation some very considered thought. Number one, you're both fairly young. Number two, your problem is drugs. I mean, that's, if you look in the mirror and you speak the truth to yourselves, your big problem in life is drugs. Do either of you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree. I mean, no, ma'am.
I mean, what's gotten you where you are right now today? Both of you. It's drugs. I'm going to give you an opportunity to make the right decision. I'm not going to terminate your rights today. To a great degree against my better judgment. But I'm going to give you all a very short window to demonstrate that you're going to put your children first. So, Mr. Trout, this is sort of a complicated ruling. I'll be happy to email this out to all the attorneys or have Rachel email it out to y'all, but because it's kind of lengthy. So instead of you having to furiously try to keep up with me, I will email this out. But I want to go through it with parents. I'm going to name the department permanent managing conservator today because I really have no other choice because we're out of time in this underlying case. Ms. Klotz, you are really, in some ways, the bigger offender here because you've had more time to get it together and really to work your services. And you did kind of get it together. You know, there was a point in time in this case where you were doing really, really well. And I understand that a bad thing happened to you, but you know, when you were in the situation you were in, the last way to cope with your loss, the last choice you should have made would have been to use drugs. Mr. Houghton, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because you have been incarcerated for so much of this case. I'm going to give you a chance to try to work some services in earnest. Now, don't take that as a hall pass because there was a period of time, as Mr. Henderson pointed out, you really were out. You could have done some more things than what you did. Okay, so you slacked during that time. You wasted that time.
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
think I don't know that because I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I am not going to order either of you to pay child support or medical support right now. That can change in a heartbeat. And I'm doing that so you all can try to get on your feet. I am going to order Ms. Klotz to inpatient treatment. She's already told me she's quit her job. She was ready to move. Now is the time, Ms. Klotz. Now is the time. I'm going to order you to do it and then to follow up with an outpatient aftercare program when you complete inpatient. I'm going to order Mr. Houghton to do an intensive outpatient program. Okay? He's got a place to live right now. He's been working. I don't want to disrupt that, Mr. Houghton. But I mean, you know, an intensive outpatient treatment. Ms. Cairns knows what I'm talking about. She knows what fits that criteria. So she will assist you all in doing that.
Thank you.
Both of you are ordered to complete any services that you did not complete in this case. So whatever you did not complete, you've got to do that too. I am going to order both of you to go UA tomorrow before 4 o'clock. and UA only. And Mr. Houghton, you better go prepared to give us a sample.
Yes, ma'am.
And here's why. Because if your UAs are negative, I'm going to allow you to have face-to-face contact with the children. I virtual visitation with a 1 and a 2-year-old. There's just nobody can really look at me with a straight face and tell me that that's quality. I recognize that. Sometimes it's the best we can do, and sometimes it's the only way drug abusers get to see their children, because it's not safe for them to be exposed to parents who are actively using. Okay. But if your UAs are negative, I'm going to allow the face-to-face visits, and I hope that we can begin some bonding.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, the following things will be grounds for the department to modify, file a motion to modify, and seek termination of your parental rights again. Number 1, failure to successfully complete those drug treatment programs that I'm ordering you to. So if you don't go, you don't successfully complete, you leave early, I mean, anything but successful completion of those things, they can turn around and they can refile to terminate your rights. The other thing is, if after 90 days from today, and I'm pinning that because of the hair tests, but if after 90 days from today, we have any positive UA or hair test, that is the basis for the department to immediately refile and seek termination of your all's parental rights. That could be against one of you or both of you, whichever. If one of you offends, they're going to refile. Okay. If one of you is doing great and the other one is not, probably the one of you that's doing great, you know, your neck isn't going to be on the line. But whoever's not doing great, yours is. So, you know, it gives the department the ability to immediately come back to court, or not immediately, but say 90 days, 100 days. And we're going to do this all over again, which they're probably not happy with me about at all. But I've already said why I'm going to give you all this chance. I'm going to leave your attorneys on the case so that you all have quality legal representation. And let me assure you both, you do. So you better be thankful for that. I'm going to leave Mr. Henderson as the attorney ad litem and guardian ad litem for the children. I'm not going to substitute Ms. Zavala and Mr. Henderson because you've got history with this case. So, you know, here's how I see it. Probably within 6 months, we're going to know whether you all are going to get it together or whether you're not. I'm not going to keep your kids in limbo forever. And that's why I've ordered the reasons that the department can come back and refile, because I'm not going to leave them in limbo forever. They've been in limbo long enough. And they're bonding with a family who is taking excellent care of them, who have provided everything they needed, and mostly have provided, you know, safe parents, people they trust, people they can love, people that they, you know aren't going to let them down. So you got a window to show me that you can be those people for these 2 children. And you know, just because they're little and they're young doesn't mean this doesn't impact them. It does. So, I mean, we hearing each other loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, this is it. This is the 7th inning, guys. Okay, Ms. Cairns, I hope you can get with them each as soon as possible to talk about treatment programs, and we can get started on that. But But our next review hearing will be July 6th of 2023. And that's on a 9 o'clock docket. So come July 6th, I'm going to be getting an update on how you guys are doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Archer?
Before we, can my client give Shay her phone number before we disconnect?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if nobody has any objection, I'll go ahead and stop the YouTube feed since we are essentially done. I'm thrilled. And so if we have some complaint, we'll have.